manager, you messed up the draft. You all retained for a fee, but now you're left with no money. Dream. Level 56. Nazanovian domination. Astounded. You said you didn't want to ask math, but now I wipe my ass with you tomorrow. Carry on, carry on. I got the draft tomorrow.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Band podcast, the one and only Uber's podcast. I know you've all been excited, you couldn't sleep, just because you didn't know when it was gonna drop. But we're here with another banger, the intro giving you a look inside of Numbers' head. Listen, hit it, my man.
Okay, just like my co-host Lucas De Campos mentioned, this episode of the Your Band podcast, we're gonna be talking about the draft that just happened in the Uber Premier League with every single manager, or at least one manager, from every single team that is participating in the 7th iteration of this prestigious tournament where no player ever gets banned before, during, or right after the tournament ends. Now, I know all of our fans from just this one episode we have released have already gotten accustomed to our amazing voices, our back and forths, our banter. Now, I must warn you all that the managers, they were chosen because of their abilities at Pokemon, not because of their social skills. So, I am sorry in advance that you're about to cringe your souls off, but a man has to do what a man has to do, and this man is me. And what I have to do is talk to these people. Okay, let's just get straight into it.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Band podcast. Today we have another special guest for you. It's the man who got banned for sexually identifying as a chair, the vice president of the Kyogres himself, Melee Mewtwo. Welcome.
Hey.
Alright, listen, hit him with the questions.
Alright, so let's start off nice and easy. You're the assistant manager of DaReal Drizzlers. Still cannot get over this name. Why don't you tell us, why are the Drizzlers number one this year round? Sell me on this team.
I think we've got strong old gens for starters. I could cover for advance, so I mean that's a bit of a wash of a metagame, so it doesn't matter too much. DPP, we've got BKC, which is important because the DPP pool this year was very dry. There was like 4 decent DPPers, and they all got retained, so 2 teams got screwed. In Black-White, we've got Blim, who's definitely up there as one of the best. The advantage we have with Blim over other Black-White options, like Problems or Zoroark, is that he's been active a lot more lately, and that's generally a thing that leads to better results. Although Evolve is obviously still a very strong competition in that respect, and Zoroark was the only Black-White player last year to go effectively positive. So those are 2 threats. And then, in Oras. In Oras, we're a bit weaker, I think, overall. But the draft pool for Oras wasn't incredible. We've got Surga, who, as far as I know, didn't have an amazing year when we drafted him 2 years ago, I believe. But I don't think he played last year. I think he only played in OPL 5. I don't know.
Surga played last year, or?
I think he didn't get drafted last year, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. He might have been drafted and played like 1 game or something small. But just based on what I saw of the logs in PL 5, I thought he's definitely a player we could work with. He's motivated. He thinks through his things, and there's discussion there. So I felt in Nora's pool that was overall kind of difficult to draft for, he was a good option. And then in USIM, we have Sayonara, although she's going to be doing the best of 3 slot, but she could still support the overall USIM player base. And we managed to pick up some players that think, are definitely strong. They're not your like household names like Zesty or Irie or any of the players you saw in Snake. But we did get Megazard, who's always had pretty consistent results in seasonals and the like. Did well last year. Alkion, who is a newer player, but he did really well in exhibition, even if that was a bit of a crapshoot of a tournament. We also have Plaz, who's been doing well in the seasonal, and just overall he's been doing fine in USIM. RDKB is a new player, but he's far in seasonal right now, and we think he has potential, so we wanted to have him on the team. Eternal Spirit is somebody who tried to be a Drizzlers back in like UPL 4 or something like that, but at the time he had really poor English, so Nairs didn't want to draft him. But I was very high on him, so I'm happy to have him this year. And we have Eagledon, of course, who was a Drizzlers all the way back in UPL 2. He's just a good player, period. But he can play basically any metagame as long as he's providing the teams. But he also participated in the Ubers Open and those bigger tournaments like that. So he's not like completely unaware of how the metagame works. I know that generally a lot of tour players, like non-Ubers mains, for USIM at least, have done very poorly if they didn't have any prior experience.
To get back to RDKB and Plas for a little bit, because those are two players who kind of flew under my radar, and I think of a lot of other people. Like, how did you find him, or did you keep an eye for him for a longer time, or did they try out, or?
RDKB tried out, which is how we noticed him. His tryouts were good. They weren't, well, it's weird. Every year we more or less get, a couple players, like at least one or two new player that's newer, that isn't really known, but really impresses me personally, at least in tryouts. I wouldn't say RDKB especially impressed me, but he was definitely, I think, the best out of all the tryouts we've got. And I think that the potential was definitely there. And it was reinforced by the fact that he also had results so far in seasonal. So I felt that it was a more or less safe bet. And I personally, for the Drizzlers, we always try to focus on community building by drafting newer players and helping them integrate in the community and setting up with the connections and just the whole tournament experience. So I wanted RDKB for those reasons. Plaz actually eliminated me in Penta. I gifted him the games, more or less, but he eliminated me still. And he's been doing well in seasonal. I think he's still in seasonal, or he went up until like the round before last or something like that. So he at least knows a metagame. He's played an exhibition for other metagames, so I think just overall as a player he has those fundamentals. So he didn't try out for us though, but he was one of those USIM picks that we figured he has experience, he has a certain degree of results, he knows the metagame, and he shouldn't be terribly expensive, so he'll be a good grab. Yeah.
Alright. So the community sort of considers you the professor of ADV. And you said earlier that you can help a lot with that tier. At the beginning of the signups, it looked like it was going to be a dry pool once again, but then a lot of people signed up. Do you agree with the notion that has been going around the community that the ADV pool ended up being pretty strong this year around?
It's really weird because the problem with Advance is it's an old metagame, so it's dead in the sense that we don't see it in major tournaments all the time. So there's no real compensation for investing into the metagame and innovating it. So that limits the degree of growth you can have. In addition to that, it's one of those old metagames that never really had a big heyday when Smoggon was big and popular. So it's very, very unstandardized. You could just look at the on-site analysis to see how much of a joke those are and how every player sort of has their own way to approach Advance. Personally, it's a bit narcissistic, but I don't agree with how most of the sort of established, there's not really established Advanced players, but the ones that are close to that, how they approach the metagame. So I didn't really want to draft those players. And just in general, I didn't want to spend very much in Advance. We agreed early on that we spend maximum 3K. Finch cost us more, but we had more money. So we ended up going for Finch. That was actually my ideal pick for Advance because I had already worked with him last year. He played the metagame well. He's got, he's a player, he's an experienced player. He has those fundamentals. He already knows the advanced mechanics, so it's not like I had to teach him that or anything. He was already, to a certain degree, familiar with the metagame, and based on how he played last year, he could handle himself in the metagame with my support. So we wanted him to grab him again, just because we thought we were only aiming for 3K players, basically.
Got it. So you said that you ended up going into the draft with more money than you expected, which is why you spent more money on Finch than you initially anticipated. But you also got some powerful 3K buys. So would you rate any of the players that you got as a steal? Like, who would you say was like somebody that you got for cheaper than you expected?
I think it's weird to say it, but I think Blim was the biggest steal, because I think it was no secret that Blim wanted to be on our team and that we wanted to buy Blim. I think which teams wanted Blim was known well before the draft, and there was definitely a lot of behind the scenes talk around it. So I think us getting him for only 13K, which is very slightly above the average for filling a 10K team, 10-person team, was basically a steal. Internally, we were planning to go all the way up to roughly 20K for him. So when they stopped at 13K, that gave us a basically 7K margin to draft even more comfortably than we had anticipated. So that helped us a lot. We thought Megazard, mostly all of our USIM went for 3 or 4K, which we thought was absolutely ridiculous because there's good players that with obvious results. But I'm not too surprised because this is sort of the drafting trends every year in UPL, where the managers tend to focus more on just who they want to buy and only bid on those players. They don't really outbid other players very well, and they're very scared to spend their money. Technically, it's not actually true that the average for a 10-person team is 10K per player, because their subs should never be more than 3K, or very rarely at least. The true average is more closer to 12K per player. But if you look at the UPL price lists for players for the last 4 or so years, you can see very few players exceed that number or even reach it. So just in general, Uber's managers are very afraid to spend money, and that was sort of the case this year again, I think.
Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree a little bit with that one, because the main manager for Drizzlers, Nares, absolutely demolished Lunalas in the draft. The moment they went for Asian, oof. I saw Nares type, "I'm gonna make you jump" for this player, and I knew this was gonna be a struggle for the Lunalas.
Yeah, he handled that well. We actually did want Aisha. We obviously didn't want her at that price. That was ridiculous. We were expecting her to be a sleeper pick on like 5K or something. But Blim, as soon as he hopped into the call, it was like, I know Dom. I know you noticed you wanted Aisha, but we were talking about it in the voice chat. And he said, I know Dom wants him. So we updated a lot on that.
Okay.
And it was obvious just based on the way that he was bidding that he actually did really want them.
Okay.
So,
What's another one as well?
really high.
Blim was one of the players.
Paycard was the other player Mayors upbidded a lot. I think at that point in the draft, he felt comfortable upbidding because we had a lot more money than we expected. And he's an abusive player apparently with results. I don't really know him very well, but Sarah was vouching for him. So obviously when Dom showed that he was following the price, we just pushed it up so he'd fork out money.
All right. So the draft by a lot of people was considered to be very, very Wild West-like this year around, with who ended up on which team and how it ended up evolving. So would you say that it was somebody that you had your eyes on that you weren't able to get because another team picked him up, or just the budget didn't allow it?
Yeah.
The 2 players we wanted the most, I think, that we didn't get were Aisha, which we expected to be a sleeper pick for Oras. She had won the Oras Cup last year. Like I mentioned, we felt the Oras pool was kind of weak, so we were hoping to pick her up cheap, which didn't turn out, but that turned into a really good upbid, so that was fine. The other player was Mel, or Mel2402, Mel, I don't know how you want to pronounce his name, the GOAT. He obviously went for way over the price we were willing to pay. We expected him, I actually told him before the draft, because he wanted to be on our team, that we didn't expect him to go for more than 15K. We thought that would be ridiculous, you know. We expected him around like 10, 13K range, kind of average player, but I think his recent Penta results and helped him out a lot, and just he's a really strong player overall. Even if he's not particularly familiar with the metagame, he understands the risk reward for each individual play and the options available to his opponent, and he's very good at anticipating those choices and making the setting up for his win cons and stuff. Just he's a good player. He went way over a price that we could afford, but we would have loved to have him for Yusum, I think, or any other metagame because he can handle himself well.
Okay, because you did mention that Horus was a weaker pick of yours this year around, so it's a good thing that you had some other Horus players in mind. All right, so you did say Aisha ended up on Lunalas, and a lot of the pools, such as Black and White, ended up being very, very strong and very, very compact this year around. So who would you say is the one player that that you have your eye on from a different team? I mean, who is that one player that you're set on and you're like, I want to watch this person?
I'm looking at the player list now. There wasn't any name that stuck out to me. I thought Zoro go for 3K at the end of the draft was kind of ridiculous, seeing as he was the only black-white option, and like most of the black-white options of this year were present last year. He was the only one to go positive. The other one was FLCL, but he only played like 3 games. But those were the only 2 players to go positive in black-white last year. So him being a late pick for 3K was kind of ridiculous. I think a lot of the stronger players were retained early on. I guess it's just Zoroark. I guess you as well, actually. I expected.
Okay, so Zoro. Oh, me. I'm not talking just price-wise. Just who did you have your eye on, like moving into this tournament? Who is a player that you're looking for, that you think is gonna do very well?
I think, like, regardless of price, who do you think is gonna perform well and who's gonna be like interesting
Gary.
to watch?
Probably Gary. I think him getting
Gary the Gengar or Gary Oak?
Gary Oak, sorry. I think him getting bought as retained for only 18k total with the trade included was a great deal for the Jirachis. He's been on a very hot streak recently, and he's just a good player. I think I've heard he has like phenomenal team support based on what his SPL teammates said. So I expect him to put in a lot of work, be MVP for that team this year.
All right. So seems like you've had a pulse on the metagame and the players in the Ubers community, because you seem like to know exactly what's happening behind the scenes as well. So
we try to keep an eye open and ear to the ground to find any hidden talent or just new up-and-comers that have that motivation, because even if they don't have the established results, motivation often counts for more. Just participating in the team and working hard tends to lead to, at least if not results, good results for the rest of the team.
Right. That's a good managerial trait to have, for sure. Do you have any closing statements about this?
As you mentioned, this draft was kind of a Wild West. I think it's always like that every year, but this year was definitely ridiculous. There are a number of players that didn't get drafted at all that we expected would be drafted, like Terracotta. And there's a lot of prices that just didn't add up. I think in general, in future PLs, managers should be more willing to spend more money on their players. At least, I don't think 12k should be a scary number for people. Ever since UPL 4, there's only been 3 players to go for more than 20k, including, which would be Zesty this year, Blim 1 year, and Zoroark user ZF, the Zoro user, another year. So just in general, managers are afraid to spend money. I think they should be more willing to. Money doesn't do anything for you after the draft. It's there to be spent. And I think they should also try to bid more aggressively. I feel managers focus too much just on who they want and don't even spend any money on anybody they're not actually interested in, barring a few exceptions. So I'd like to see that change, because this year was kind of a very wild ride. But it worked out in our favor, I think, so not so bad.
All right. I'm glad that you're happy with the draft you ended up having with the players you picked. Best of luck with the Drizzlers. I hope you guys do well.
Thanks. Hope you do too for the team that you're on, the Jirachis. We'll play you week 1, I think.
It's good, everybody. Welcome back to the Your Band podcast, the one and only Ubers podcast. Today he's accompanied by Zesty because his ass still hurts from surgery. It's the one and only Dream from the Bandits. Welcome.
What's up?
What's going on?
All right, let's end with the questions.
Alright, so before we go into the actual questions, I'm gonna need you both to give me a small introduction as to who exactly you are, since you're both kind of newer players to the community. So Dream, why don't you start us off?
Oh, I'm indeed a newer player, at least for Ubers. Like, I've been playing on Showdown since like around 2014, but Smogon wise 2016, late 2016, so I'm still making a bit of a name for myself. But lately I've been playing a lot of ORAS and DPP, and now I'm managing the Uber Premier League, so there's that.
Alright. Zesty, can you hit us with a small intro for yourself as well?
Yeah, I started on Showdown summer of 2017. I only played Anything Goes then. Got into Ubers early 2018 and have been playing it consistently since then.
Alright. So, both newer players, but you've both proven yourself, especially with Dream being a room owner at this point in the Ubers room. So, both coming from the Bandits, why don't you pitch the team to us? Tell me why the Bandits are numero uno this year round.
I think consistently throughout the team, we have a bunch of guys that have experience. Guys like M and Lacus have played in a bunch of UPLs and posted pretty good records. Lacus went 10-1 in Snake Draft, which is the best Ubers tournament record, I believe. And then we have newer guys like Royal, who I think are very talented. He won a seasonal. I think with good building support, he can be very good. Guys like Stone Cold, who have been around forever. I believe he started in like 2005 or something. And Irie, who I believe was probably the best overall player in the draft, and we got him for 7,500. So I would say that was a very good buy on Dream and Steel's part.
So going into the draft, our team had like a really clear goal. We knew we wanted to get Zesty for Sun and Moon. We wanted to pair him up with Mysterious M and have like 2 lockdown slots, and then the third one that we could like get him to build for, and someone who could be like capable of playing wise. So we focused on that. And then when it comes to old gens, I knew that like our support for DPP was pretty high, and for Black and White too. So we just wanted people that could play the gen and like knew the mechanics and knew how to win games. And then for ADV we got Irie, who's like probably the best player in the pool by far, in my opinion. And in ORAS we got Lacus, who's a close friend of mine and also a really capable ORAS player. I think our team is super solid right now.
Alright, so you mentioned Stone Cold and Lacus, 2 players who have been around for a very long time, but also 2 players that have not been seen recently. When you were formulating your draft, were you aware that they were going to come back? Were you in touch with them and motivated them to play? Or did you have alternatives in case that they wouldn't be able to play because they might just disappear once again?
Both of them only really signed up because I talked to them. Like, Lacus wasn't really going to sign up, or rather she was like doubtful about signing up, and then I convinced her to because I said like, you're going to be on my team and we're going to do good things. And same for Stone, he wasn't going to sign up until I approached him and I told him, yo, we need a DPP Ubers player and I know you could be that if you wanted to, and he decided to sign up.
Alright. Now, the Bandits came in after retaining 2 players, but you also sold the retention rights to Gary Oak, who is considered a very strong player. So you ended up kind of balancing out with your money as far as getting 2 strong players in Evolf and Mysterious M. So from the players that you actually got inside the draft, who would you say was like a good steal, a good player that you got for lower than you expected or lower than you would price them?
Something that's actually funny, like every single player we got in the draft, we got them for like at least equal to or lower to what we expected to get them for. So we actually overdrafted in players wise. We wanted to get 11 players, we got 12 because of that. But definitely Irie, we expected him to go for like 12 to 15 and he went for 7.5, and he's just an amazing player.
So seems like the draft went according to plan then, right?
Yeah, we got like all of our number 1 choice picks. We got in pretty much every gen except for like 2 slots, which we got our number 2 or at least close to number 1. So we definitely got really lucky in that regard in terms of like up bids, because I know Lunalas got super up bid and kind of fucked over, but yeah, we did well.
So were there any players in the plans that you wanted to get and you couldn't because another team picked them up because the money didn't allow it or something?
Yes, actually. We had Blim as our black and white player, like number 1. and FLCL was number 2, and we ended up getting FLCL eventually because Blim got a bit too high. We also had Kratos Mana for Sun and Moon option. We had him or Royal as number 1. He went a bit too expensive, so we ended up getting Royal, who's a super capable player anyway.
It's funny because Melamuto actually said to us that Blim was actually underpriced. What was your ceiling for Blim or getting him?
The thing with Blim was that he was super early in the auction. If he had been later, we would have spent a bit more. But since he was early and we still wanted Irie, still wanted Lacus, we didn't know how much we could go on him. So we planned to stop on 14. But if we had gotten the other 2 for as cheap as we did before, we would probably have gone a bit more just because we'd have more money to spend on him.
It was more so a budgeting thing to get the rest of the drop line. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Blim was not our priority basically. We wanted him, but our priorities were definitely Zesty, Irie, Lacus, and just locking down the gens we knew we needed help with. Black and White, we just wanted someone who could play, and FLCL is playing wise just as capable as Blim.
Okay, so this roster of yours has been very, very good, I would say, but the auction ended up being kind of a Wild West, as I alluded to with a previous team. So a lot of people ended up on teams that people did not expect them to get, and most of the teams, actually no, I'm gonna say all of the teams, look very, very potent right now. So of the players that you guys did not draft, who would you say is somebody that you're looking out for? Who is that one player that you got an eye out for that you think is gonna do very, very well?
Can I name 2 players?
Sure, go ahead.
The first one is Sky Solo. I know he came off a really good exhibition, and I wanted to see if he can continue that. I know he has the team support with the Stamina and Gary Oak. I think that Sun and Moon core, besides our own, is probably the strongest, and I'm looking forward to playing them in week 5. And then Aisha, I believe is how you pronounce it. She went for a ton. I want to see if she can perform. She played really well in Oras Cup, but almost 17,000 for an Oras player is insane. And I want to see if she can back that up with a good record.
I think the 2 people I'd keep an eye out for this year, definitely Anti. I think he was super high on our draft board because he's an exceptional player, and with team support he could be absolutely incredible in Oras and in Sun and Moon. So I think he's gonna have a good UPL, especially with the Durians. And someone else that interested me was Layson himself. I think after last year especially, he didn't play much, but I think he has a lot to prove this year, and I think he could do it, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Layson is getting a lot of praise on these podcasts, I must admit. Not the first time I'm hearing this.
It varies from one end to another. I either hear that I'm trash or that I'm the hottest new player around, so gotta have to see how I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I think we should just keep that away for now.
Oof. Yeah, we're cutting this in post, don't worry. Alright, so I'm gonna wish you both a very good tournament. I hope that the Bandits have a lot of fun. The team certainly looks like you guys are gonna have a lot of fun. So any closing statements?
I think we're gonna 8-0 the Lunalas, start off the tournament very strong, and from there, hopefully we can take the title from the Durians.
I'm really happy with all my guys. I think our draft went exceptionally well. I'm really excited about starting this off with a win, especially against the Lunalas, who a lot of people are saying is the weakest team. I don't know if I agree with that. They have a solid team, especially their retains are incredible, but I just hope we can all have fun, and you guys, I hope you guys do well too.
Alright, thank you. One last question towards Zesty. Is there anyone in particular in Lunalas that you want to see not do so well? Any DPP player by any chance? I don't know. I'm not gonna name anyone. So no relevant DPP players on Lunalas. Okay, got you. Okay.
Nobody that comes to mind, actually. Yeah, nobody that really stands out. I imagine there are a few guys that could play DPP for them.
Okay. I got you, my man. Alright, so this is gonna wrap it up for another episode of the Your Band podcast. Thank you very much, Dream and Zesty, for joining us, and I will be seeing you again very, very soon.
Alright, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another Your Band podcast. We're back with another special guest today. This time it's the president of the Stinky Fruits himself, the man who gets them always up. It's Gunnar Rowan from the Durians. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Alright, so Layson, hit him with the questions.
Alright, first of all, I want you to give smallest possible introduction as to who you are for all the people out there who have never touched tubers, because anyone who's ever played this tier already knows who you are. But do introduce yourself.
Alrighty, so I joined this tier back in 2015. I transitioned from an anything goes player. I used to play that tier on the ladder, and then I started playing Ubers. I played it for a couple of years. I mean, I still play it, but not as regularly as I did previously. I played SPL, and that's pretty much it. I'm pretty well known in the community.
All right. So, you're one of the unofficial managers, I suppose, for the Defiant Durians. But you've always been there. You've always been a stable player for the team. And as such, we decided to get you on. So why did you sell us a little bit on your team? What makes Durians in this iteration of the UPL the best team for you?
Well, I mean, we've stuck to our roots like we always do. If you guys have seen for the past 3 years, at least the past 2 years, our winning combination has been our old gens, in my opinion. The combination of Kebabe and M-Dragon have always been really solid. They've always put up good records in these 2 years, and they've always been really reliable, which is what we stuck with this year as well. We didn't choose to retain Kebabe because we felt like he might be a little cheaper in the auction. But M-Dragon was a sure retain because he was definitely, I think, below what his price would be in the auction, and he wanted to be with us again. We were deciding if we wanted to who our second retain would be for a really long time, because we're not sure if Purple Gatorade was going to stay with us. We were having talks with other managers, but once we finally reached a decision, we knew that Purple Gatorade was the way to go. 10K is definitely a really cheap price for someone who has performed exceptionally well in the past year in Ubers, and would definitely go for at least, I would say, maybe 18K in the auction. So, we were really happy going in with our retains for sure. And looking at our team, I think everything's fallen in place. We have our old gen core again from last year of Kebabe, M-Dragon, and Kushalos. And then we have a few new picks, and we have our star Sun and Moon player, Purple Gatorade. So I think we're looking really strong.
Okay. Durians have also had a tradition of bringing up somebody who the community doesn't know or doesn't know that well, at the very least, and helping them become the best player that they can possibly be. Such an example would be Sky Solo and Purple Gatorade from the past UPL, where they both were 3K buys, if I remember correctly, and they both ended up undefeated. Gatorade ended up 7-0, I want to say, and I know that Solo ended up 2-0.
I think it was 5-0.
Oh, yeah, because he did have to get subbed. But
and then Sky Solo went like 5 or 6-0 in exhibition or something like that. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. He was 5-1 if I remember correctly. So I suppose I'm gonna assume that this is going to continue as a tradition for the Durians this year with the latest pickups.
I mean, yes, I'm gonna say that. I have confidence in some of the lesser known buys for sure. This year we've kind of. This year, I think my philosophy with the Sun and Moon buys was we definitely want to pick up some AG players. AG players have shown in the past that, they have the ability to pick up Ubers really easily. Example is obviously myself, Zesty, Hunter Storm. These players in the past have definitely shown that they're as capable as they are in AG and Ubers as well. This year we have Perfect Minune, Pigeons, who's an AGTL, and Cam, who's sort of was a former AG player, but not really. But, these are kind of the underrated buys we have. We also almost got one player I really wanted to get at the end of the draft, the last player nominated, Prairie Scrutonism, but unfortunately that didn't work out for technical difficulties that were not intended. However, I still have a lot of confidence in our lesser known buys, and I'm really excited to have them on the team. I think that they really work well with Purple Gatorade, since they're all kind of played in AG, and I think they're going to do really well together. I'm excited for them and to kind of see what happens when they play this year.
Curious, did the draft go according as you planned, or was it did it go totally different, or were there some deviations from the plan?
Well, we definitely got most of the players that we really wanted. The players that we really wanted were obviously Kebabe. We wanted Anti as well. Anti was one of the players we had in our draft, who was a must buy. And then we had Kushalos, who was also a must buy. These three players, I would say, were 100% buys in our team. And then the fourth would be Reggie, who we really wanted to play or ask for us again. He was someone who's played with us 2 years ago, and him and I really get along well together, and we really work well in ORAS together. So Reggie was someone we really wanted as well, but Reggie, we didn't really know if it would work out. But the main core, which we kind of wanted to stick with, definitely worked out. But then the Sun and Moon, we kind of went into the auction knowing that we're going to definitely see who we can get and who we can't get. I remember in the auction, we were thinking, if somehow Zesty is cheap, we'd obviously love to get him. But clearly he wasn't. And in my mind also, I knew he wouldn't be. But yeah, I think we're pretty happy with the way the draft went. I guess getting Shake on the team was obviously not a part of the plan. That was OB's decision and not mine. But I think overall, apart from that, we're definitely really satisfied with the team.
Personally, I was very surprised when I saw Shake ending up on your team, because I heard Shake has been talking smack on both OB and Poaches.
That's just like it was just a joke. So I mean, if people don't know the story yet, it's basically I was obviously gonna talk some smack before I picked the last person, and I was genuinely gonna praise Grudonism because he tried out for me one time and he played like pretty well, and I saw some potential in him. But then TDK and a few of the other players on our team wanted to get Shake. Even Obi wanted to get him, and I don't know. I misclicked, and then the next thing you know, Obi just meme nominates Shake. I guess it was like he wasn't really gonna do it because he expected me to actually type it correctly, but since I typed it wrong, it went through, and which is why all that happened. But definitely, Shake wasn't part of like my plan, at least for sure. I guess people just wanted to get Shake for kind of like a jerk slot. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, everyone's valuable in our team.
Okay, so speaking of the people that you got, who would you say is the one person that you got like as a steal? Who would you say that like you got somebody like for way less than you were expecting them to, or for less than you would say they are worth?
I think Anti and TDK both went for good prices. I mean, definitely they aren't like Uber's players inherently, but they're just so talented as players that 10K is definitely a good buy. For people who can pretty much pick up any tier in like any amount of time. So Durians historically haven't picked tournament players up, but this year definitely that was kind of our strategy. And I think Anti and TDK both for a price of 20K is very valuable. Apart from that, deals. Let me think. I think everyone else went for the price we were kind of expecting, to be honest. Reggie went for 6.5K. Kushalos I thought would go for like around 8K, but 9.5K is still a pretty good price for him because he's definitely shown his ADV prowess last season. So I think overall everyone went for the price we expected. And as you can see, like we've gotten a lot of 3K buys, and this year the same has happened. We have let me see, we have seven 3K players on our team, and that's something that we usually end up doing anyway. But some of the 3K buys are definitely unexpected. I thought Roses would go for a lot more. Roses isn't really a starter for sure. Like even in the sign-up, he didn't show interest to start, but he's a good sub, and he's like, I think reached finals of a seasonal. He can play ADV, so he's definitely a good buy for 3K. Definitely, I think a little less for him. But apart from that, maybe Pigeons could have gone for a little bit more since he is the tier leader of Anything Goes. Because people have shown that if you invest in AG players in the past, they definitely do show, and he's pretty well known. But apart from that, I think it's a pretty fair price for everyone.
I think that trend is going to continue, like the AG trend of AG players performing well. You think that's going to continue for the coming UPLs or the next one at least?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Zesty as well was an AG player at first, if I remember correctly, and then he transitioned into Ubers.
Yeah, I mean, there are kind of uncountable number of players. Like I'm trying to think: Zesty, Hunterstorm, me, Zenthial. There was another guy last year. Megazard's also done well. Purple Gatorade, like pretty much every single AG player who picks up Ubers has shown to do well. Because I mean, there is a difference in the tier for sure, but instinctively you still kind of work with some similar sets. You still know how the Ubers Pokemon work, and then if you do well in AG, which is I would say one of the like highest levels of skill required to do well in a tier like that, you can definitely translate that into Ubers. So which is why the AG players have historically always done really well in this tier. So that's definitely going to continue in my eyes, and there's nothing going to change that. If you're an average at AG, then you're not going to do well in Ubers. But if you're an extraordinary AG player, I'm sure you can replicate that skill in Ubers as well.
That seems like a fair statement. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, AG kind of feels like transitioning from AG to Ubers or the other way around. Kind of feels like moving from one generation of Ubers to another, or any tier for that matter. Okay, so you were talking about how a lot of things went according to plan when the draft happened, but was there anyone that you wanted to get that you couldn't for one reason or another? Like the budget didn't allow it, or another team picked him up? Who would that be?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, going into the draft, all the Durians players we had last year, pretty much, it's the Sky Solo, Alcyone, Exeline, Byron, Jace. We obviously want to get them again because, last year they were really loyal to us. They played really well. They've risen exceptionally high in their skill. And if we could get them all again, we would have. So there was no question in our minds that if there was like a certain price we could spend on them, which was reasonable, we would do that. I know we spent like around 8K for Alcyone, and that was what we thought was reasonable price for him. And then he got bought by another team. Sky Solo, on the other hand, we didn't expect him to go for this price, but congratulations to him. He's a fantastic player, and I'm sure he'll do well, and he'll do his price justice. But there was one player I think specifically was definitely Exeline. Exeline, specifically for Durians, has just been a really good buy. I would say. He's been loyal to the franchise, and maybe his record doesn't show, but he's definitely been a valuable member to the team. And unfortunately, we were just expecting him to go for a lot more, which is why no one was bidding, and just like nobody just bid, and he just got bought. Actually, when I was watching the auction, the first 15 minutes I was having food, and I couldn't type anything. So when it was 4.5, I was gonna type 5, but before I could, he was already sold, and I told Pogus, I was in call with him, I told him to press 5, and he was just like, no, someone else will do it. And then Exilin got bought. Obviously that was kind of disappointing, because I think 4.5k is injustice to someone who can definitely play a few slots. Team Cancer Exilin, I know, but I think definitely 4.5k was a little less for him. But apart from that, I guess, we would have maybe got Shadow Quinn, someone I've been wanting to have on the team for so many years now. He's just a fantastic player in a bunch of tiers, and he's just very reliable as a player. But apart from that, yeah.
It was like a mistype, which made him go to Bandits.
Mistyped. I don't exactly remember. I don't remember exactly. I know we bid on him a little bit, but then I know his price was too much. So like Obi was like, no, we aren't gonna bid more than that. So it makes sense. I mean, Shadow Quinn has gone for like a decent amount of price every single year, even 6k is a good price for someone who's played like literally no Uber since last UPL. Yeah. It just shows that people still rely on someone to be worth, even if he's a sub. 6k for a sub is a lot of money. So I think that's fair. But yeah, we definitely would have loved to gotten all the old Durians players again, but in a year they've definitely become a lot better, which has made them a lot more difficult to access for sure.
All right. So draft went as planned, as you said. You wanted to get as many Durians as you could. Also had a lot of new names in mind.
Yep.
As far as I know, Durians is one of the teams that actually pays a lot of respect to the tryouts that you guys do.
Yep.
So obviously most of the 3Ks came from that, right?
Yep, they did it, yes.
Okay.
But there were some players I tried out a bunch of players, but this year I feel like I wasn't really as I wasn't as impressed by the quality of tryouts. I feel, last few years, every single year there's been like at least 2 or 3 players who've like kind of stood out in the tryouts. This year not so much. This year I just saw potential in some players. But that's just the way it is, it just depends on year to year. But definitely we do really respect people who try to come in and they show their skill. And I think a lot of people don't know this, but I'm gonna make it very a statement about how tryouts really work, specifically for me and for Durians. We don't really look at how many games you win, or and none of that. Like it's not about how many games you win, it's about how well you perform in those games. So whenever you're trying out with me, my philosophy is I'll play as many games as you want me to play. Whether it's 5 games, 6 games, 8 games, I don't care. I'll play that many games, but I just want to see how you play in all of those games. Doesn't matter if I win 8-0, I just want to see how you perform, how you when there's a critical turn, what you click. If you misplay, I look at your skill. I don't look at your overall performance. So that's my thinking when I consider a tryout. And I've never selected anyone based off of 1 game or 2 games. And most of the times when I get tryouts, it's just that, let's have a BO3, and then let's say someone even beats me in that BO3, they're just elated and they think that now they're going to get bought for sure, and they're expecting a response. It just doesn't work like that. Tryouts are meant for managers to assess your skill and how you can play, and your team building ability, all of that as a package. So if your entire package is attractive to me as a manager, then definitely I'm going to invest that money into you. So Durian economics 101.
All right. So
I think that's a very common misunderstanding by players. If they win a certain set or something, they automatically assume that they're gonna get bought.
Yep.
A lot of people want to do BO1 tryouts as well, which is the worst type of tryouts. If you can only do 1 game at a specific time and then you want to continue at a different point, that's fair. But the people who only ask for 1 game and they win and they're like, yeah, I'm the best, I'm getting on the team, I don't know if they're carrying.
Well, that's not even a tryout.
All right, so a lot of people were kept outside of UPL this year. A lot of people that believed that they would get in. Some people even expected them to go for a lot of money, such as the Trap God. However, what I want to hear your opinions on is if there's a specific player on any team that isn't yours, a non-Durian, that people should look out for. Like, who do you have your eye on from any of the other teams? Who do you think would give you the most difficulty as a matchup?
The most difficulty as a match. So I'm gonna answer both. I'm gonna answer your question, but I'm also gonna reflect on the first part of your question. But I'll start off by answering your question. So, who's gonna give us the most difficulty? I mean, I don't really know. I personally don't see anyone on that list, and I think, wow, someone's really threatening. I would say Poek maybe is definitely someone to watch out for, because he's historically done really well in UPL, and he's a lot of money's been spent on him, and he's definitely a good UPL player in general. So I think if there was a player I would say definitely is somewhat of a threat, it's Poek. Apart from that, I wouldn't really say anyone seems any like to any extent dangerous. But the players I would say I'm really excited to watch. Number one, Zesty. No questions asked. His price makes a lot of sense for the kind of player he is. He translates skills in a number of Uber's tiers, and he's picked up these tiers really quickly. And he's done really well in the Snake Draft, and he's definitely exceeded all expectations. And that's why his price is probably one of the highest people have paid in managers have paid in recent history. So I'm really excited to see what he plays, how he does, and how much he kind of carries the Bandits. I definitely think he is a franchise player, even though they have some really good other players as well, like Lassus. But Zesty, I think, is going to be a very good buy for Bandits, and I think it can take them a long way. Apart from that, I was definitely surprised by seeing the price of Aisha, whatever. I didn't expect that much price for someone who's just fared well in a few cups. I think that's definitely overpriced, but I'd love for them to prove me wrong, and I always watch out for ORAS players, so I'm really excited to see what kind of teams they bring. I'm definitely going to be very critical of the performance by them, but I'm excited to see if they have anything new on the table. And then the entire kind of Dialgas team, I'm just really curious to see how, the combination of Hack, Problems, Edgar, Outrage, and like Tape, a lot of these players haven't really met eye to eye in the past, and then now that they're all together, I'm just really excited to see how they're going to function and then, just play together and synergize, because this team either does well or just dips by week 3, in my opinion. I don't think that they're going to win. I don't think they're a winning team just because they have so many players who really haven't been consistent in so many years. But I think they have the opportunity, like they have the skill to definitely, on a good day, beat any team in this tournament. So that's there. And then the last person I would say I'm kind of excited to see is Blim. I did not expect 13k on Blim. I think that was a little bit of an overestimate, but I have not been in contact with Blim in a while now. So I don't know how motivated he is to play this tournament and how well he's going to do. But Blim, obviously, champion player, anything can happen. But I'm excited to see if he's going to really carry the Drizzlers this year or what's going to really happen from his end.
I can personally speak for Blim. I know he's very motivated and he really wants to win and he really wants to go for it. So I know he's invested. He's been playing again for 2 months now, maybe, trying to get back into it.
That's awesome, man. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that, but that seems really encouraging then. But I actually want to answer the first part, which it wasn't really a question, but I just want to touch upon it. So yeah, a lot of players, who were expected to get bought this tournament did not. For example, the Trap God, obviously number one Uber's player in Snake Draft last year, power ranking wise, and then we have Sharo as well, who played for Pogis, who's one of the assistant managers for Durians in Snake Draft. And it might be surprising that these players didn't get bought, but my only comment is I think after all these years of Ubers kind of being reprimanded by the tournament community for being for a tier kind of infested with cheaters and just having plagued with just some sort of ghosting and botting activities, I think managers finally kind of put their foot down and decided that someone like the Trap God isn't worth investing in because of the ever-looming threat of him being caught of him being criticized for cheating or just his usual antics of actually just cheating. So I think managers decided that it wasn't worth this year for investing in someone that might be on paper an amazing player, but historically has shown that he cannot sustain in any sort of tournament without relying on his cheating antics. So it kind of showed, and to me it wasn't surprising. It's something that was supposed to happen a long time ago, but managers finally opened their eyes and decided to do it. So great. The other players like Sharo, I don't know Sharo personally, and we were never gonna get him, but I know a lot of players don't really regard him that highly, and his attitude and basically his his association with all the other players as well. And I know a lot of people as well felt that they were kind of cheated off a spot on a team because they're friends with the Trap God. And to that, I have to say that if you're not smart enough to understand that someone like the Trap God has consistently in the past shown that he's not reliable and he's, gone to the lowest of lows to win a game. And if you're ignorant and oblivious to that up till this point and you still feel in your heart, in all honesty to yourself, that he's played all of his games with the utmost dignity, then you've definitely got something wrong. And it's time for you to kind of reconsider your entire, and just reconsider what you're doing. And maybe then you'll probably be treated a little differently, in my opinion. That's all I have to say. Before I actually go for going off on tangents, but I really felt like that should have been said because there was a lot of there was an uproar once the auction definitely ended. So
as long as you don't go overboard, it's fine.
I'm trying to be as PG friendly as I can today. So.
No, it's all fine. All right, so these are like the questions we have. Like any closing statements?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's gonna be exciting UPL. I think for my team personally, we've kind of employed a different strategy this year, which we normally don't do. We've definitely picked a lot more tournament players, which is interesting to see how that's gonna work out for us. I'm excited, and I definitely think we have a winning roster. So I'm excited to see how some teams fare. I think the teams to watch out for in this auction, out of all the teams, I think are the Bandits. They definitely have the team I think which is good enough to win this tournament, apart from us. And I would personally see them versus us in the finals of this tournament. Apart from the Bandits, I really wasn't that impressed with any of the other rosters as much. There are a few rosters which were all right, I guess, like the Dialgas, like I said, have some capability, and level 56's team also is pretty decent. But apart from that, no, I don't really see too much of a threat, to be honest. But I'm wishing good luck to everyone playing. Hope you guys do well, and hope we can kind of have a great tournament, have show some skill from a lot of players, and see some players flourish like we always do every year. So hoping for a good tournament, and hoping that there is no more cheating scandals like we have in almost every tournament and that you're plagued with. I don't think there will be, but I'm just never say never with some of these players. But hoping for a good tournament. I mean, I wish both of you the best of luck, and I hope you guys do well as well for your respective teams.
Good luck to you, Gunnar.
Thank you, Lucas.
That was the one and only Gunnar Rohan. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Band podcast, the one and only Ubers podcast. And today we have another special guest for you. I'd say it's Mr. Jirachis himself, but I guess today is Mr. Lunala. Welcome, Dominisha from the Lunalas.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's good to have you, man. Listen, hit him with the questions.
All right. Why don't you, first of all, give us a little bit of insight into who exactly you are? Because maybe some people don't know you, so give us a small intro.
So I am Dominisha. I am a moderator in the Ubers room, and I am also the Lunalas manager this year. I've been pretty inactive since last UPL, but I used to play a lot of tours, and I also used to be on the Ubers QC team. All right.
So you are the representative of the Lunalas for this podcast over here. So why don't you talk us a little bit about your team? What makes the Lunalas the winner of UPL 7? Like, sell me on this.
Well, I definitely don't want to say too much and give away my lineup, but what I will say is we got pretty much everyone who we wanted. I believe everyone that we got is an expert in their respective tiers. And we also have a bunch of players that can switch around slots pretty easily, especially people like High Lord, LaRue, Chill Shadow. Also, I believe we have a really strong team spirit. A lot of our players were on the Lunalas last year, and the rest of them are people I know personally for the most part.
All right. So you mentioned High Lord. High Lord has been a pretty hot name in the community recently. Went undefeated last UPL in the DPP tier, and this year around he has made it through a lot of tournaments, and he has considered himself one of the best. So I suppose that he's one of the players that you are gonna put a lot of emphasis on, huh? Like, did you put yeah? Yeah.
Last year, he did a lot better than I thought. Like, at first, I didn't really know who High Lord was, but after he started winning, I was like, wow, this guy's actually pretty legit. So this year, I knew he was one of the players I definitely wanted to retain. So I definitely expect him to do very well this year.
All right. So High Lord was like a point that you built around, or did you? Was it just like a strong point that you wanted to focus on?
High Lord was mainly just a strong point. I knew going into the auction that my draft plan would basically be decided around our ADV slot, since I would either be getting someone really cheap for ADV, and then would be able to get someone that was pretty expensive for like maybe SM or BW, or I would end up paying a lot for ADV and have to get someone who was cheap but still decent at Sun and Moon.
I have to ask, like, the elephant in the room is a lot of the other managers as well, they've been talking about Aisha. Was it someone you were aiming for as well? And was the price within expectations, or did she go for more, or she? Because overall, she's a pretty under the radar player.
I definitely didn't expect them to go for 16K for sure. I decided I wanted to buy them after they beat me in Oresk Up. I was like, holy shit, this player is actually legit. So Aisha and Paycard were actually the two players I wanted the most coming into the draft. And they were also the players I got upbidded most heavily on, so that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
expecting it on like Aisha and Payguard as well, I guess, because it was mainly the Drizzlers, right?
Yeah. I didn't know how. I definitely wasn't expecting them to get up it. I had about 12K reserved for both of them. Paycard went for a bit less, but Aisha went for way more than I thought they would.
Yeah. I think that showed. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kind of a rough draft for you guys. But besides those two players getting up bit more than you would expect, do you consider one of the players that you drafted a steal? Do you think that somebody went for less than you imagined or less than you think they're worth?
I definitely think Alex Walls was a steal. I expected him to go for a lot more. I think he's pretty underrated in this BW pool. Like when you have all the old names like Hack, Edgar, Problems, people like that. But people really don't focus on, I think like Alex Walls went 2-0 last year. He beat both Kebabe and Zero Dark. So I definitely think he was a steal.
Swolz plays mainly black and white, right? Black and white and DPP, if I recall correctly, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since the DPP pool is kind of on the weaker end this year. It's definitely the weakest slot, if you ask me. You went for, how much did Alex go for? 3K?
He went for 4.5K, I believe.
0.5. That's especially a good pickup then, yeah, like you said, I think. Just even if it's for DPP alone.
Yeah. I also expected P2 to go for a lot more than 6K. I wanted to actually get Nawaitu, who was like this ADV ladder god, but I ended up getting P2 for a much cheaper price, so that didn't really work out.
And that was definitely a nice buy as well, if you ask me. Was there anyone who you couldn't get, who you were like, I kind of wanted that person? Or like someone else stole them away?
Yeah, I definitely wanted Serga at the end. I just didn't have enough funds after getting upbid to shit.
Mm-hmm. There were no other players where you're like, well, maybe. Or everything went according to plan otherwise, apart from that one?
Everything basically went according to plan, except for not being able to get Serga at the end.
I mean, the draft that the Lunalas had was strong to start with because the DPP pool has been very lackluster this year around, and by retaining Highlord, you guys got an edge on that like from the get-go. And also getting Poik like as a retain. Poik is, even from the other managers that we have talked to, even though he's not an Uber's main, he is considered one of the most consistent and very strong players who can just flex around any tier if need be, but can also hold himself on his main tier. I believe he went undefeated last year for primarily Auras, correct?
Yes, he played Auras last year.
Okay, so you guys had a good start to begin with, and then you could build off of that. Like, would you say that that the beginning of that the money you had to spend for that was worth it for having Highlord and Poik at the beginning?
We definitely had to budget a bit more and do some scouting to find players that might not go for a lot but would still do really well. But in the end, I think it was probably worth it. I had some people telling me that Poik for 20K wasn't worth it, but I think in the end, it's better to have a consistent player than someone who can both play and build and do all that stuff. Because anyone can really build a team, but you really need that guy to pilot the team that's going to win.
Like the backbone of the team as well.
Yeah, for sure.
This year also saw the return of a lot of legacy players, such as Blim and Edgar. So I wanted to get your pick your brains on the following. With a lot of players returning and with a lot of players showing up in the past year and being very strong, outside of the Lunalas, who is the player that you're keeping your eye out for? Who is the player that you want to see an impressive play out of, or you expect rather impressive play out of?
Well, on the Bandits, so Eviel for sure. He was on my team back in UPL 4, I believe, on the Drizzlers. He went undefeated in BW. So last year, I believe he only signed up for Sun and Moon, but I believe this year, since he's going to be playing BW, it's definitely going to be something to watch out for. Also, on the Dialgas, I believe, March Fires, I'm not sure. I expect him to play best of 3 because he's just so good at all 3 tiers. So that would also be definitely someone to look out for because there aren't really many players in this pool that can play all 3 tiers very well.
All right. So, Lucas, you got any questions for Mr. Lunala himself here?
I think that's mainly going to wrap it up. I'm not sure if you have a closing statement, Dom, or if you have anything you want to add to anything you've said.
Not really, no.
Right, then I'm just going to wish you guys a good UPL run and a lot of fun. That's the most important thing.
Thank you. All right. Peace, guys.
Alright, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Band podcast, the one and only Uber's podcast. Today we have a special guest for y'all. He doesn't just only get the women like Gary Oak does, he gets their moms too. It's the one and only Gary Oak from Jirachis. Welcome.
Hello.
Alright, so you gotta tell us something about your team. Like, we have had the draft now for the UPL. So tell us on your team, why are you guys winning?
We got the podcast duo, so we're winning, and we basically got everyone we wanted.
Wait, so what was the going into it? What was the draft plan? Like, were you into it, or like, did you know, or was it just astounded and level or knew about it?
Yeah, all four of us knew about the draft plan, so we wanted solo for SM, and we got it, and Lax too.
Ooh, powerful core.
Then we wanted like either Lucos or Gastric for Auras, and we got them both. For Black and White, we had like Fully, Lazen, and Zoro. We got two of them. Then obviously Pearl's the DPP. And the ADV slot is the only one that didn't go as planned because we had like Ham.
Yeah, the ham stand for the butcher.
And worms, I think. But Pearl told Level that Sam was an option. Ham would go for more than 3k, and we were really short on money, so they just bought Sam. And then we got Ismakil at the end, so we're covered for ADV too. And then we got Melee for best of 3, which was we either wanted Melee or Bioman, but Astounded said he preferred Melee by far, so perfect.
How competent is Melee in, I know he's competent in ADV. How competent is he in Sun and Moon and Black and White? And how do you think he'll perform? Or Raz in Black and White?
Well, he got to Penta finals, and I think he did well in exhibition for SM. I don't know about Auras or Black and White, but I assume he's good.
Yeah.
I think all of our slots are solid, and we have 3 great subs, so we're winning basically.
So that was the plan going in. Was there like a ceiling for players you wanted to get, or like did people go for more expensive than you expected, or were there like was everybody a steal?
Yeah, solo was supposed to be 15k max. In fact, Level told to stop up bidding after 15, kept going, and it paid off. Then we had Melee for like 14, I think, and went for 16.5. So that made things a little bit.
It sounds like it balanced out between the 3k
then we
buys
got
and
like
the people who went
Zoro
for more
for 3k.
All right, so you did mention
Mm-hmm.
that you wanted to get some people that you couldn't get, for example, Earthworm on ADV, who, if I remember correctly, did withdraw his sign up. So who do you think was the most important player that was on the draft plan that for one reason or another the team couldn't end up getting?
Maybe Ham. Everyone else was in the plan. Like, we literally got everyone we wanted. So I really can't say there was one player who we really needed to and we didn't get. Like, it was just the ADV slot, and I think between Sam and Isma, they'll do it fine. So like,
we've talked about like why your team is winning. We've talked about potential steals. What do you actually think was like a steal in general, like by other teams as well, like not just limited to your team?
Well, in our team, obviously Zoro, 3k. All I gotta say. And other teams, I think Cestis is really good, but when Dream dropped 23k, I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, 23k is a lot. Yeah,
He was
on one player.
Yeah,
Cestis
he was
really
the most
good.
expensive player on the draft.
Yeah, Cestis is amazing, but still, I don't know. Then you got Lunalas, who were like really short on cash, and they dropped 16k on Aishia, which I don't really get.
Like I was unaware of that player up until yesterday.
Yeah, they won. Like, I don't know. Poek plays Auras, so like, I don't get
We
it.
have 2 Auras players now essentially, so maybe Poke will switch up to another gen, or maybe Aisha plays another gen too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Maybe, I don't know. But aside from our team, I don't think there were many steals, honestly.
That's fair. Who do you think in general is like a player to look out for? It can be either in your team, it can be like on other teams.
Like in general or
In general,
teams?
No, in general, just like despite prices, like who's a player to like
Oh.
really look out for? It can be because of prices, what might go under the radar. Like people won't expect that person to
Cesti,
do well.
obviously.
Mhm.
I think he'll be really motivated, and I can see him go like 5-2 or 6-1 or something like that. I think Poeg will, like always. Black and White will score a lot of players, and the pool seems to be kind of stacked, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. My question would be, so you ended up on Jirachis, and both of the managers are considered two of the best, if not the best, Oras players to have played Ubers. So, is there any excuse if the Oras players get a single loss outside of hacks for this team?
No. Lucas better go 7-0 or he's benched. Nah, but I think we're covered for like pretty much every tier. SM, we got, Will and me who can build, and Lax who can play perfectly fine. For us, we got like everyone on the team, and Black and White, we got two decent starters.
Yeah.
We might be short on DPP, but like Pearl said he was gonna get outsider help, so that should be fine. ADB, we got basically Isma, Sam, and Mele. And for best of three, we're obviously covered. So that's it.
All right. So, any closing statements about the glory of the Jirachis? Are you confident in this team? Are you going straight to the finals?
All I gotta say, our team is probably the best ever in any UPL.
All right. I like this confidence.
Yep.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Your Band podcast, the one and only Ubers podcast, coming at you today from the early hours with Mr. GSC and the Uber's dad himself, Mr. 378 and ABS daddy from the Dialgas. Welcome.
Hey, what's up?
All right, let's hit him with the questions.
All right. So you two are some of the oldest managers and some of the oldest players here, as far as going back as to how long you have been playing. So introductions not really necessary, but I'm still gonna ask you both to give a little info about who you are, starting with Mr. 378 himself.
I'm Mr. 378. I've been playing this game since 2005 in the netball days. I've been an Uber's main for most of my time, though these days I'm known for GSC. I'm returned to manage to win this UPL.
All right.
And I am Abs Daddy. I've been playing this game casually since about 2007, but I started seriously about 2013. And I've been involved in Little Cup and Uber's communities, and I'm mostly known for being known. That's about it.
All right. Known for being known. But you know what's not known? Why the Dialgas are going to win this UPL. So why don't you talk about this? Why is your team numero uno this year round?
We've gathered a number of players that have tons of experience in the game and have a lot of records. And while a lot of people think they're inactive and crust, I don't think that's the case. With so many of them together, they'll be motivated to do well and be active in tests.
Yeah, so I wanna touch a little bit on that. Like, there was a lot of doubt during the auction whether our team is gonna be active or not. And let me tell you that the crust you guys were talking about is non-existent. As far as the playing ability goes, everyone is up to speed. They're active, so watch out.
Yeah, and along with that, all of the players I got for cheap, like 4K, 5K, 6K. And the risk-reward prospects of that are tremendous. If they don't work out, fine, that's just 5K lost, no big deal. But if they do work out, then you can have a win in whichever slot they play. I don't see why more people don't jump on that.
All right. You mentioned the prospect of not losing a lot of money, and the fact that some people consider them crust. But what about the accusations that by week 3, half the team is going to dip? You did gather 17 players, but are you going to be able to put up with multiple people dipping just in case they decide, hey, it's not worth it, we're not doing too hot, or any conflicts existing? Because you do have big names, but big names come with big egos.
Yeah, but these big egos have known each other for years. They're all friends with each other. That'll motivate them to stay together, if anything.
Like not only they're motivated to work together, and they already do.
We're old men here. We can act civilly. Yeah, and while some people may see it as risky, if it does pay off, then it really does pay off. These people have talent.
Okay. Mr. 378 touched upon the fact that you got most of the names that you got for quite cheap, between 4 to 5k. You did get some more expensive players, obviously. But who would you say was the biggest steal out of the entire draft?
Biggest steal of the entire draft. That's hard to say because I got a lot of these players a lot cheaper than I thought. Back for 13k, I would never expect before the draft. I thought someone would have gone a lot higher, just off name alone. Exceline for 4.5k is also really ridiculous considering he just won the circuit.
Okay, so you guys gather a lot of names and gather a lot of big names. So this is kind of like a weird question to ask, but I have to go for it. Was there anyone that you did want to get and you couldn't end up getting, either because of budgeting purposes or because of another team picking them up? And also, because you did mention Exeline, I'm gonna have to supplementary question on this. Was he in the draft plan, or was he like a failed up bid that you ended up getting?
In terms of names we wanted but couldn't get, Zesty and Sky Soul were our main Sun and Moon picks, but they are way too much for us, all things considered. Sky Soul for 18.5k is a lot higher than I would ever expect him to go. And in terms of the failed up bids things, some were in the plan, some weren't. While others, yes and no. In that I wouldn't want them to go for cheap or anything, but they weren't exactly in the plan. But
yeah, looking at the noms, the guys who we wanted to get for Usam, they got nommed before Exeline, and we got kind of robbed. And this also can answer the question you asked earlier regarding the players we wanted but couldn't get. And it's mostly Usam guys. You probably know them, Zesty, Solo. So we kind of needed someone to play Usam for us. So, just try to upbid Exeline, try to get him, because obviously he's a capable player. And yeah, we just upbid, nobody else did, and we got pretty much a steal of the auction for me right there. He's not a 5k player or whatever.
It's funny because we've had Gunner as well, and he said he was eating food and he wasn't able to upbid Exeline, so wasn't able to get him. And you've told me before that was like that was mostly an upbid, but then you managed to get him for cheap, and it was just a thing that worked out nicely.
Well, he did want, and he does want to play ADV, but he does certainly have the potential to do great in this pool. I would think he did well in circuit, for instance, and he seems motivated to do well, improve himself some more.
I mean, he does have that support from numbers as well for the ADV slot.
Yeah.
Yep. The plan was to get him for Usam, but if he wants to play ADV, he can do it. And
well, no, I knew he wanted ADV, but if he wants to help Usam, then that's all the better.
Okay, well, your draft went quite well. Ended up with 17 players, which is, ironically enough, exactly the same amount of players as last year the Alone Makers got. So continuing that legacy as well of getting a lot of players and for cheap.
I was wondering how many. Yeah, that's what the Soul Dudes always were too, back in their original form.
So it's been a long running theme, huh?
Yeah.
Anyways, since you're both the legacy players at this point and you're very, very well known in the communities, you both got involved as well, especially numbers I've seen with recent seasonals. So you know the player base quite well. So outside of your team, who is a player that you guys think is gonna impress you, or you think is gonna do well? Who caught your eye?
Who got our eye in the entire tournament?
Yeah, outside of your team.
Oh, I think you have a good answer for this in DPP.
In DPP, I think, but I'm surprised that he is not playing that here. But Alex Waltz, obviously he's known, and the man was the legendary Lance's mentor, and he can play some crazy DPP, but I'm surprised that he's playing black and white. But then again, he's contesting a spot with High Lord. But I would love to see the man play DPP, and in my opinion, if he can play black and white as well as he can play DPP, then he's a guy to watch. He can surprise many.
Oh, and there's something I wanted to say. I wanted to, way before this UPL season started, I had my eye on Purple Gatorade for Sun and Moon. I wanted his Resane from the Durians, but they wanted a lot of money, and I really don't like giving other teams money, so I had to decline that and just decided to roll with no retains. I like how my plan went, though. We have a lot of capable Sun and Mooners. I'm an old-fashioned kind of man.
There's
Thank you
no
for the
regret.
answer. I think that's
Could
gonna
get
wrap
some
this one up.
votes, but
Do you have
in the
anything
end,
to add?
I can't speak for Daniel, but I'm pretty sure he shares this sentiment. But I am very happy with the draft, and this is a team very capable of winning the entire thing. So yeah, thanks for having us, and watch out because the crust is no longer there. The guys are ready.
Yeah. A lot of it will come down to me and my role as manager, but I'm all the willing to put as much effort in. I'm the Iron Man of Ubers.
Thanks for having us again, and see you guys later. Have a good one.
Lucas, where's the episode? Lucas, where's the podcast? Lucas. Oh, shut the fuck up. No, I'm joking. It's just all love. Peace.